The easiest way to compost at home is right here. How easy? This easy. Easy composting kitchen scraps coming up. Thanks for watching the video today. I'm Diego, D-I-E-G-O. My goal is to help you streamline gardening, to make gardening easier using smart design. And today we're gonna make composting easier using a smart, simple design right here. This is a trash can. This is what I call my Urban EDC, my Urban Everyday Composter. What we have is a plastic trash can with a lid. The lid's important because it keeps moisture in, the sun out, and it keeps the contents nice and moist inside. It also keeps critters like mice and rats out. In the side of the plastic trash can, we have holes drilled in it at random patterns. This is to allow air in and water out. We also have some holes in the bottom. All of these holes are about 1/4 inch in size. Not so big that a mouse could get through, but not so small that they could easily clog up with organic matter. On the inside of the trash can, we have a perforated piece of PVC pipe. This allows air to get to the center of the contents that we're trying to compost. So we have air in the center through the center pipe, and we have air coming in through the holes that we've drilled on the outside. This creates the perfect condition for the contents inside to break down. Once we've prepared our trash can, we simply fill it up, walk away, and then come back later to harvest it. And that's where we're at today, because earlier last year, early 2021, I made a video showing this composting system and I filled one of these trash cans. Well, it's been sitting here for a year. Let's take a look inside and see what the contents look like. Before we dump the can, I want to emphasize a few points. Number one, the contents inside were never turned. They were never mixed. The only thing I've added to the system was some water throughout the year to keep everything nice and moist. And I also added some worms right at the beginning to help speed up the composting process. Now, you don't have to add worms to these cans. In fact, I think worms will just find the contents, come up through the bottom and go after the contents. But if you want to improve the process, speed up the process, add a handful of worms. They'll breed out inside and they'll help break down your scraps for you. Now that we know what's going on, let's dump it out and explore. Looking at everything is pretty well broken down. It's really nice and fine. This is something you could use to start seeds in, put right into the garden. Plants would have no problems growing in it. The only thing I'm finding in here are a little bit of eggshells, which aren't completely broken down, but they'll just go away in the soil. Everything else looks really nice. In terms of smell test, it doesn't have any sort of anaerobic smell, so my moisture ratio was good. One thing I have noticed in these cans, if you water them too much and you're not careful of your blending of brown and green, meaning if you put too much greens in and add too much water, the bottom of the can will tend to go anaerobic no matter how many holes you put in, because you have this environment that's just gonna be like a sponge sitting there. It's gonna be there wet for a long time. It'll never get a chance to dry out. So you have to be really careful about blending your material. Add some dry stuff, add some green stuff, not too much water, and you should get really good compost at the end of the day, just like this. I want to answer some questions that I've had about this system over the past year. Number one, do you have to add worms? No, but it's highly encouraged. Worms are going to speed up the breakdown. They're going to give you a better product at the end of the day. So I would add worms to the pile at the start. That being said, if you don't add worms, I'm confident worms are going to find the contents themselves. They'll go from the ground into the can, believe it or not. No prompting required. So if you don't add them, they'll probably find it. But I do suggest you add them because I think about this system as an aerobic worm composting system. That's really what this is. A big worm bin that looks like a trash can. I've had a lot of people ask about red ants. Are red ants a problem? Honestly, I don't know. We don't have red ants in California, so I'm not sure. If ants were a problem, then you're gonna have to find some way to deal with that. Rats, mice, raccoons, are they a problem? Well, they can be. I don't have a lot of raccoons here, so raccoons aren't really a problem. I do have a lot of rats and I do have a lot of mice. Where I found a lot of problems with mice was if I drilled the holes too big. I tried doing one can with like 1-inch holes. That was way too big because the mice could get through the holes. They would go in the holes and then like dig out, and I would see little streams of compost coming out through all the holes where the mice had crawled in. So as long as I keep the holes in the sides small, and as long as I keep the lid on tight, rats and mice aren't a problem. What are the keys to success? Number one, don't add too much water. You want to keep the system moist, but you don't want to saturate it. Keep in mind, this is a mostly closed system. You're not losing a lot of water even through the holes in the side. So you don't have to add a lot of water to the system. A lot of the water is hitting the lid and then raining back down into the pile. So once it's sufficiently moist, check it periodically and only add moisture if it feels really dry. And it means you might have to dig down a little bit to get a sense of what the moisture's like, not just at soil surface where it could be dry. You need to go down deep. If it's still moist deep, I wouldn't add water. Another key is getting a good mix of browns and green. Mature carbon and immature carbon, think of it that way. You want some brown stuff to help absorb some of the liquid, and you want some green stuff. Kind of like a 50-50 mix has always worked well for me. So kitchen scraps and shredded paper are one of my go-tos. We have rabbits, so rabbit bedding with the rabbit poo and kitchen scraps, that works really well. But just try and shoot for a nice mix of brown and green, and don't keep it too wet. Another comment people have had is a year to wait for compost. That's a long time, and you're right, it is a long time, but keep in mind there's really no work during that year. And if you do several of these cans staged throughout the year, you'll eventually get kind of a constant source of compost. So I start one now, I start one 3 months from now, I start one 6 months from now, and so on and so forth. I just get a cycle going. So it does take a while, but like all good things in life, they take time and they're worth waiting for. I know a lot of people struggle with composting, so if you're looking for an easy way to compost, start here. Start with the Urban EDC, a modified aerobic worm composting system made from a simple trash can. Thanks for watching. Until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.